This is the court of history, and today, standing in the accused circle is not an ordinary woman. Let this court read what she was. She took the throne at 18. She held it for 21 years. She was the last ruler of a civilization 3,000 years old. She reportedly spoke 9 languages. She was the first of her family in 300 years to learn Egyptian, the language of the people they ruled. She was born so late in Egypt's story that the Great Pyramid was already 2,500 years old. She lived closer in time to us than to the men who built it. Yes, we are talking about Cleopatra VII, last pharaoh of Egypt. Then, 32 years before the Common Era, Rome declared war, not on Mark Antony, on her, by name. And almost every word we know about her was written by the men who defeated her. Today, Cleopatra is not on trial for losing a war, not for taking Caesar to her bed, not for taking Antony after him. Today, Cleopatra is on trial for a story. No one is left alive to accuse her. This court brings the charge itself. For 2,000 years, she has been remembered as an appetite, a nose, a carpet, a barge, a snake. None of that is what she is famous for. So the charge is this: did the winners of a war take the right to name the woman who lost it? On my left stands Prosecutor Lycos.
Your Honor, Rome's case is simple, and it has never lost. She met Caesar and left with the throne. She met Antony and left with half the East. That is not coincidence. That is a method.
On my right stands Defense Nicandros.
She inherited a bankrupt kingdom Rome was already eating. A woman who negotiates is called a seductress, only when the men writing it down lost something.
Then this trial will not ask whether she seduced Rome. It will ask who was holding the pen. So stay until the verdict, because this court will decide one question. Did Rome kill Cleopatra twice? Once with an army, and once with a story.
Your Honor, the prosecution calls Arsinoe IV, sister of the accused. She is the only witness here killed on Cleopatra's word.
Before Cleopatra was a legend, she was my sister. 4 of us could take that throne. When Caesar came to Alexandria, my sister went to him. I went to the army. I fought Caesar in my own streets, and I lost. I was walked through Rome, in his triumph, in chains. The crowd pitied me, and Caesar let me live. I was sent to a temple at Ephesus. Then Antony came east, and my sister asked him for one thing. Soldiers came into the temple and killed me on the steps. Sanctuary means nothing when a queen wants a name removed. One brother drowned fighting her. The other died at 15, unexplained. By 28, every rival who shared her blood was gone.
First question: did Cleopatra order your death?
Antony gave the order. My sister asked for it.
And what did you intend for her?
The same thing. There is no version of that throne with 2 of us on it.
Second question: was your death necessary?
No, I was in a temple, not an army camp.
Was your family unusual in this?
Our house had killed its own for 300 years. She was not a monster. She was a Ptolemy.
The court accepts the testimony. Cleopatra killed her way to that throne, but she did not invent that road. She inherited it.
Your Honor, the prosecution calls Gaius Octavianus, later called Augustus. He defeated her, outlived her, and wrote her.
I will not pretend to be neutral. I ended her, and I would do it again. Antony was a consul of Rome. He left my sister, his Roman wife, and stayed in Alexandria. He put an Egyptian queen's face on Roman silver. So I took his will from the Vestal Virgins and read it aloud in the Senate. It said he wished to be buried in Alexandria beside her. That was all Rome needed. Then I did the thing that made the war possible. I did not declare war on Mark Antony. I declared war on Cleopatra, because Rome would not march against a Roman, but Rome would march against a foreign queen. Afterwards, I wrote my own account of those years. Every history since was built on top of mine.
First question: did she corrupt a Roman consul?
He crowned her sons kings of Roman land.
Was that will genuine?
It was sealed when I took it, and I broke the seal. No one can prove what was inside before I opened it.
Second question: why did Rome fear her?
Because she was rich, she was clever, and she was not ours.
Then answer plainly. Did you ever meet her?
Once, at the end, after she had already lost, I needed her alive for my triumph. She died first, so I carried a golden image of her instead, with a serpent on its arm. The woman the world imagines is the one I carried.
The court accepts the testimony. The man who defeated her also wrote her. Rome chose a foreign queen because she was easier to sell than a civil war.
Your Honor, the defense calls Gaius Julius Caesar. The first man history says she seduced.
I came to Egypt chasing Pompey. They handed me his head on the shore, and I wept because they had misjudged me. Egypt was in a civil war between a girl of 21 and a boy of 13. The boy had the palace, the army, and the advisors. She had only the nerve to get past them and into the room. People enjoy the story of the rolled carpet. Let them. What came after was 4 hours of argument about grain, debt, and her father's treaty with Rome. I did not back her because she was beautiful. I backed her because she knew her kingdom's accounts better than any minister in that palace.
First question. Did she seduce you into her war?
I fought that war because I was surrounded in her city, not because I was charmed.
And yet she bore your son and lived in your villa in Rome.
She did, and Rome hated her for it.
Second question. Was she a competent ruler?
She was the best administrator in the Eastern Mediterranean, and I had met them all.
Then answer plainly. What did you leave her?
A son I never named in my will. Roman law forbade marrying a foreigner, and I did not fight it. I left everything to my nephew and nothing to her boy. That child was strangled at 17 by the nephew I chose.
The court accepts the testimony. He did not lose himself in Egypt. He made a calculation, and she made a better one. But he left her a son Rome would one day have to kill.
Your Honor, the defense calls Marcus Antonius. History says this woman destroyed him. Let him answer that.
I was a consul of Rome and one of 3 men who ruled the world. I was in my 40s, not a boy who wandered into a palace. I summoned her to Tarsus to answer for her conduct. She arrived on a ship with silvered oars, dressed as a goddess, and made me a guest at my own hearing. That was not seduction. That was a state visit, built to humiliate me. I wanted grain, ships, and money for a war in the East. She wanted legions, so Egypt would not become a province. We each got what we came for. Yes, I married Octavia, and yes, I left her. That was my dishonor, not Cleopatra's crime. And at Actium, when her ships turned, I broke my own line and followed. No plan explains that. I have had 2,000 years to find a reason. There is none.
First question. Did she destroy you?
I destroyed myself. She was standing near enough to be blamed.
You gave Roman provinces to her children. Rome's interest or hers?
Hers. I paid her in land that was not mine to give.
Second question. An ally to your army, or a distraction?
She funded my legions when Rome would not.
And at Actium, whose fleet fled first?
Hers, with the war chest aboard, as we had agreed, because the battle was already lost. The disgrace is not that she sailed. It is that I followed.
The court accepts the testimony. The man history says she ruined has told this court that he chose, and the world still calls it her spell.
Your Honor, the prosecution calls the accused, not as a legend or a warning, as herself.
For 2,000 years, people have asked one question about me. Who did I sleep with? 2 names and a snake. I will begin with what is true. I killed, my sister died because I asked for it. I did not weep, and I will not perform grief in this court. I gambled Egypt on Roman men twice, and the second time I lost everything. Now hear the rest. I was 18 when I was handed a kingdom already mortgaged to Rome. Rome owned our debt, watched our harbors, and counted our grain. Every kingdom around me became a province in my lifetime. Judea, Syria, Cyprus, Pontus, Numidia. Egypt did not. That was not luck. I had no legions. Rome had 30, so I used what Egypt had. The richest treasury in the world, the greatest harvest, a fleet, and the largest library on earth. When the flood failed, I opened the royal granaries and fed Alexandria myself. When our silver collapsed, I restruck the coinage and stamped the value on its face, so no merchant could cheat a farmer. And I learned Egyptian. 300 years of my family ruled this country without speaking to it. I sat in their temples and let the priests crown me as their own. When Rome finally came, I did not send a general. I went myself because I was the state. They say I seduced 2 Romans and negotiated with 2 Romans. When a man crosses a border and returns with grain, ships, and a treaty, Rome builds him an arch. When I did it, Rome wrote a poem about my body.
First question, what do you ask from this court?
Judge me for the blood. It is mine, but judge me as a ruler, not as a rumor.
Did you love either of them?
I think I loved one, but love was never the currency. It was the part they could understand.
Second question, why did you choose death?
Because I watched my sister walk through Rome in chains. It was the last decision left to me, so I made it.
Do you blame Rome or the record?
The record. The army only took Egypt.
Cleopatra of Egypt? Did Rome kill you twice?
Once with an army. That took a single summer. The second killing is still going. Every time someone says my name and pictures a bed instead of a throne, it continues. They remembered me. They simply remembered the wrong woman.
The court has heard enough. Arsinoe showed blood, and showed the blood was a family habit. Octavian showed Rome chose a foreign queen because a civil war would not sell. Caesar showed a calculation, not a spell. Antony said plainly that he chose. Cleopatra is not guilty of being what Rome called her. This court does not clear her of the killings. Those were hers, but she held Egypt for 21 years while every neighbor became a province. She fed a starving city, repaired a broken currency, and learned the language her own family never bothered to learn. And she chose her death rather than be walked through Rome. But this court finds the legend guilty. Guilty of filing statecraft under seduction. Guilty of turning a treaty into an affair, and a head of state into an appetite. Guilty of letting the man who defeated her decide, for 2,000 years, what she was. So yes, Rome killed Cleopatra twice. The first took 1 summer. The second has lasted 2,000 years, and it is still being repeated. Egypt's last pharaoh may keep her crimes, but she takes back her crown, not as the woman who lost a war, but as the ruler who held the last kingdom everyone else lost. This court is adjourned.